She was crawling through the desert with broken fingernails and blood on her back. 3 days without water, left for dead by the most powerful man in Texas. When the cowboy found her, she begged him to let her die. He refused. What he did not know was that saving this woman would force him to pick up a gun he swore he would never touch again. And she was carrying a secret that could bring down an empire or get them both killed. This is the story of two broken people who found each other in the dust. And what happened next will stay with you long after it ends. This story teaches us that being broken does not mean being finished, that the deepest wounds can become the source of our greatest strength, and that sometimes the person who saves you is also the person you were meant to save. If you have ever felt alone, afraid, or beyond repair, this story is for you. If this kind of story speaks to your heart, do me a small favor. Hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss a new story. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're listening from. I want to see how far this story travels. Now settle in. This journey is just beginning. The vultures found her first. 3 of them circled low over the dry wash, black wings cutting lazy patterns against a blood-red sunset. Sam Bridger watched them from his corral, one hand resting on the neck of the black Mustang stallion he had been trying to break for 3 weeks now. The horse was wild. Wilder than any Sam had worked before. It fought him with everything it had, teeth and hooves and pure stubborn will. But Sam was patient. He had nothing but time these days. Nothing but endless hours of silence and solitude, and the kind of loneliness that seeps into your bones like winter cold. 5 years he had lived like this. 5 years since he hung up his gun belt and walked away from everything he had been. 5 years of breaking horses and mending fences and trying to forget the face of a dead little girl. Then the Mustang froze. Ears pinned forward, nostrils flaring, eyes fixed on something beyond the canyon entrance that Sam could not see. He followed the horse's gaze to those circling birds. 1/4 mile east, maybe less. Something dead out there, or dying. Sam turned back to his work. Whatever lay in that wash was none of his concern. He had made himself a promise when he came to this canyon. No more trouble, no more violence, no more putting himself in positions where people got hurt because of him. Whatever was drawing those vultures, it could stay out there and rot for all he cared. But the Mustang would not settle. It paced and snorted, agitated, pawing at the dirt like it was trying to tell him something important. The animal had been wild as sin for 3 weeks, fighting every attempt Sam made to gentle it. Now it was practically pushing him toward the canyon entrance. Sam muttered a curse under his breath. He had learned to trust horses. They sensed things that men could not, and this one was telling him something was wrong out there in the wash. Against his better judgment, Sam saddled his mare and rode toward the birds. The vultures scattered as he approached, rising on heavy wings to perch in a dead cottonwood nearby. They were patient creatures. They could wait. Whatever lay in that dirt was not going anywhere. What Sam found stopped his heart cold. Not a corpse. Something worse. A woman lay face down in the red dust, her dress torn to ribbons, her back a road map of scars and wounds. Some of the cuts were fresh, still weeping blood into the fabric, painting dark stains across what had once been blue cotton. Others had long since healed to raised white lines, crisscrossing her skin like the marks of a whip that had been used many times before. Her face was swollen beyond recognition, purple and black and yellow, the colors of bruises in various stages of healing. One eye was completely shut, the lid puffed up like a rotten plum. Finger-shaped bruises circled her throat like a necklace, the clear imprint of a man's hands where someone had squeezed hard enough to leave marks. Sam had seen dead bodies before. Plenty of them. In his former life, he had created more than a few. But this woman was not dead. She was crawling. Fingernails broken and bloody. Knees scraped raw through the fabric of her dress. She dragged herself inch by agonizing inch toward some distant sound of water, moving on pure animal instinct when everything human should have given up long ago. Sam dismounted slow and easy, the way you approach a wounded animal that might spook. Ma'am. She flinched so hard her whole body spasmed, tried to crawl faster, collapsed face first into the dirt with a sound that was half sob and half moan. Easy now. I am not going to hurt you. Her one working eye found his face. Gray-green, like storm clouds over sage, like the sky before a tornado touches down. And in that eye he saw no fear, no pleading, no desperate hope for rescue, just defiance. Pure, stubborn defiance that had no business being in someone so broken. Kill me. Her voice was sand and broken glass, scraped raw from screaming or thirst or both. Kill me. Or leave me be. That stopped Sam cold in his tracks. She was not asking to be saved. She was not begging for help or mercy or water. She was asking to die on her own terms, out here in the desert where no one would see her fall. Sam thought about walking away. He thought about the last time he had tried to help someone, about the screaming and the blood and the small body going limp in a mother's arms while he stood there frozen, his gun still smoking, his soul cracking right down the middle. Emma. Her name had been Emma, 6 years old, blonde hair and blue eyes and a gap-toothed smile that he would see every time he closed his eyes for the rest of his miserable life. He had sworn after that day to never put himself in that position again. Sworn to stay out here alone until he died, or found a way to live with what he had done. Sworn that he would never again be responsible for another human being's fate. But this woman, even now with nothing left, she was fighting. Crawling through dirt and blood toward water she might never reach. Refusing to give up even when giving up would be so much easier. That kind of stubborn will deserved something. Respect, maybe. Or at least the chance to die with a roof over her head and water in her belly. I am not going to kill you, Sam said quietly. And I am not going to leave you. Then you are a fool. Probably. He knelt beside her, careful to keep his hands where she could see them. But I am a fool with water and a roof. You want to die, that is your choice. But you can make it tomorrow after you have had a meal and a bed. Deal. For a long moment she just stared at him with that one gray-green eye. Measuring, deciding, trying to figure out what kind of man would offer help to a stranger bleeding in the dirt. Sam let her look. He had nothing to hide. Nothing but 5 years of guilt and a scar down his cheek that told its own story. Who are you? Her voice cracked on the words. Name is Sam Bridger. I got a ranch 4 miles from here. Why? Why what? Why help me? You do not know what I am. What is coming for me? Sam bent down and lifted her as gently as he could. She weighed nothing. Skin and bones and stubborn will wrapped in torn cotton. He could feel every rib beneath his hands, every sharp angle of a body that had been starved as well as beaten. Does not matter what is coming, he said. Right now you are here, and I do not leave people to die. She lost consciousness before they reached his horse, her head lolling against his shoulder, her breathing shallow and ragged. But even in her fevered sleep, she muttered things that made Sam's blood run cold. Do not take me back. He will kill them all. The children. Oh God, the children. Sam settled her across the saddle and swung up behind her, cradling her broken body against his chest as he turned the mare toward home. When he got her inside the cabin and carefully peeled away her torn dress to treat her wounds, he found something sewn into the lining, hidden there like a secret too dangerous to carry openly. A small leather journal bound in worn brown hide, and a torn piece of map marked with locations he did not recognize. Sam did not open either one, not yet. Whatever secrets this woman carried, they were hers to share or keep as she chose. His job right now was simple: keep her alive through the night. But as he cleaned her wounds and wrapped her ribs and dripped water between her cracked lips, Sam had a feeling his quiet life was about to get very loud indeed. The black Mustang outside whinnied once, long and loud, like it was agreeing with him. Clara Wells woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of a man's boots on wooden boards. She did not move, did not open her eyes. did not let her breathing change even slightly from the slow rhythm of sleep. This was how she had survived 4 years with Victor Crane. By being still. By being silent. By never letting him know she was awake until she had catalogued every threat in the room and planned her escape. Old habits died hard. Maybe they never died at all. She lay there beneath the rough wool blanket, taking inventory of her situation, the way she had learned to do 1,000 mornings before. Her ribs ached with every breath, but nothing felt broken. The cuts on her back had been cleaned and bandaged with surprising care, the cloth strips wrapped firmly but not too tight. Someone had changed her out of her ruined dress and into a man's cotton shirt, soft from many washings, large enough that it hung past her knees. She could hear a fire crackling in a stove, water bubbling in a pot, wind pushing against thin walls. The cabin smelled of wood smoke and coffee and horse, honest smells that held no trace of the expensive cologne Victor always wore. And those boots, steady footsteps moving across the floor, but moving away from her, not toward. That was different. That was new. Victor had always come toward her when she was vulnerable. Clara risked opening her good eye. Just a crack. Just enough to see. The cabin was small and clean and spare. A single room with a cook stove in one corner, a rough-hewn table, 2 ladder-back chairs, a narrow bed that she currently occupied. Animal pelts hung on the walls for insulation. A rifle stood by the door within easy reach. A saddle rested on a wooden stand near the window, well oiled and cared for. The man had his back to her, pouring coffee into a tin cup. He was tall and lean, with the kind of broad shoulders that came from honest work rather than vanity. Dark hair touched with gray at the temples. He moved with an economy of motion that spoke of a life spent outdoors, where wasted energy could mean the difference between life and death. When he turned, Clara saw the scar. It ran down his left cheek from just below his eye to the corner of his jaw, a raised white line that must have bled something terrible when it was fresh. The kind of wound you got from a knife, not a fall. The kind of wound you survived because you were lucky, or skilled, or both. His eyes found hers, and he did not look surprised to see her awake. "You are up." He did not move toward her, just stood there by the stove, keeping distance. "How do you feel?" Clara tried to speak. Had to swallow twice before words came, her throat raw and scraped, like I got trampled by a herd of cattle. Something flickered across his face, not quite a smile. "You look about that bad, too." He paused. "Sorry, that was not kind. I have had worse said to me." She pushed herself up against the headboard, wincing at the fire that shot through her back. "Where am I?" "My ranch. Box Canyon, about 10 miles east of Redstone." Redstone. Clara's mind raced behind her careful expression. That was good. Far enough from the Crane estate that Victor's men would not have found her trail yet. Far enough that she might have time to think, to plan, to figure out her next move, unless time had already run out. How long? 3 days. You had a fever, something fierce. He gestured with the coffee cup. "You want some?" She nodded, watching him pour a second cup from the battered pot on the stove. He brought it toward her, and she tensed automatically, her body preparing for pain, even though her mind said this man had shown no sign of violence. He stopped 4 feet from the bed, held out the cup, made her reach for it rather than coming closer. It was such a small thing, such a careful thing, such a deliberate choice to respect her space and let her control the distance between them. And it made something twist in Clara's chest that she thought Victor had long since killed. She took the cup. Their fingers did not touch. "Thank you." He nodded and retreated to the table, lowering himself into a chair with his back to the wall and his face toward both her and the door. She noticed he positioned himself so he was not between her and the exit. Another small thing, another careful choice. "You've been talking in your sleep," he said. "Names. Annie, Thomas, little Pete." Clara's hand trembled. Coffee sloshed over the rim and burned her fingers, but she barely felt it. Those names. Those precious names, the only family she had ever really had, and she had failed them all. And something about children. He met her eyes directly, not flinching from the bruises or the swelling or the horror of what she must look like. "You want to tell me what that was about?" "No, fair enough." He blew on his coffee, steam rising between them like a curtain. "But I got to tell you something else, too. When I found you, you had some things sewn into your dress. A journal, and part of a map. I have not read them." Clara's heart stuttered. "Where are they?" "Hidden. Safe." He watched her face. "They are yours. You can have them whenever you want. But I figure if you sewed them into your clothes, they are important. And if they are important, someone might come looking for them." Clara said nothing. Could not have spoken, even if she wanted to. The journal, the evidence. 4 years of secrets and sins and blood, all written in her careful hand. If Victor found out it still existed, if he knew she had not destroyed it in the desert. "Someone already did you a world of hurt," the man continued. "Beat you bloody and left you in the desert to die slow. That kind of hate does not come from nowhere. That someone got a name." She set down the coffee cup because she could not hold it steady anymore. Her hands were shaking too badly. Her whole body was shaking. "Does it matter? It might. If he comes here looking, he will." Clara met Sam Bridger's eyes. "And when he does, he will not just kill me. He will kill anyone who helped me. Anyone who even looked at me with kindness. Anyone who gave me a cup of water or a bed to sleep in." She paused. "You still want to know his name?" Sam Bridger did not look away, did not flinch, did not suddenly remember urgent business elsewhere the way sensible men did when they learned what kind of trouble she carried. He just sat there with his coffee and his scarred face and his steady eyes, waiting. "I have been a lot of things in my life," he said finally. "Some of them pretty bad, but I have never been the kind of man who turns away from someone in trouble because I am scared of getting hurt. You should be scared. Maybe, but I am not. So you can tell me or not tell me. Stay here and heal up or ride out tomorrow. Your choice." His voice was calm and even. "I will not force you into anything." Clara stared at him. In 4 years with Victor, she had learned to read men the way other women learn to read books. She had studied their cruelty, their wants, their weaknesses. She had learned to become small and invisible, to anticipate the blow before it fell, to survive by making herself useful and unthreatening. This man did not fit anything she knew. He should want something from her. All men wanted something. But if Sam Bridger had ulterior motives, he was hiding them better than anyone she had ever met. Or maybe he simply did not have any. Maybe such men still existed, out here in the empty spaces of the world. "My name is Clara," she said finally. "Clara Wells. I was a nurse during the war, after I married a man I thought would give me a good life. I was wrong." Sam nodded slowly. "And this man, your husband, he is the one who did this to you?" "Yes." She swallowed hard. "His name is Victor Crane." And she watched the recognition flash across Sam Bridger's face, watched his jaw tighten and his eyes go hard as he understood exactly what kind of monster had left her for dead in the desert. To his credit, he did not run. Sam knew the name Victor Crane the way everyone in the territory knew it. Mining magnate, railroad investor, friend to politicians and judges and territorial governors, the kind of man whose name opened doors and closed mouths, whose money bought silence and whose power bought everything else. Victor Crane had built an empire out here in the borderlands, stretching from the silver mines of New Mexico to the cattle ranches of West Texas. He owned half the businesses in Redstone and had stakes in the other half. He donated generously to churches and orphanages, sat on charitable boards, attended every social function with a beautiful woman on his arm and a genial smile on his face. Sam had never met the man personally, but he had heard the stories. Everyone had. What he had not heard, what no one whispered about in saloons or mentioned in polite company, was that Victor Crane was a wife-beater, A torturer. A killer who hid his evil behind a mask of respectability. But looking at Clara Wells, at the scars old and new that mapped her body like a chronicle of suffering, at the way she flinched whenever he moved too fast or spoke too loud, Sam could fill in the blanks well enough. 4 years. She had survived 4 years of that. The strength it must have taken. The sheer stubborn will to keep breathing when every breath brought pain. Sam did not push her for details in those first days. He was careful never to push. Instead, he let her come to the truth on her own time, the way you gentled a horse that had been broken wrong. Patience. Consistency. Showing her through actions rather than words that she was safe here. He left food within her reach and let her decide when to eat. He slept on the porch with the door unlocked so she could leave any time she wanted. He showed her where the water source was, which direction led to town where he kept the extra supplies. He gave her choices. Victor Crane had clearly never given her any. On the 4th night, when Clara had healed enough to walk without wincing, she spoke to him through the open door while he sat on the porch mending a bridle by lantern light. "I was a nurse before him," she said, "during the war." Sam looked up from his work. "Which side?" "Both." Her voice was quiet but steady. "I could not watch men die when I could help just because they wore a different color uniform. Some called me a hero for that. Some called me a traitor. What do you call yourself?" Silence stretched between them, filled only by the sound of crickets and the distant yip of coyotes. "A survivor," she said finally. "That is all I have been for 4 years. Just surviving." "Surviving is not nothing," Sam said carefully. "Surviving is the first step to living again." She was quiet for a long time after that. Sam went back to his bridle, giving her space to think, to decide how much more she wanted to share. He could feel her watching him from the doorway, measuring him the way she had been measuring him since she woke up, deciding whether to trust him. When she spoke again, her voice was harder, the voice of a woman who had made a decision. "The journal you found. It is evidence. Victor sells guns to the Comanche. Has been for years. 200 rifles, ammunition, even dynamite. Every wagon train attacked, every ranch burned, every settler murdered. The weapons came from Victor Crane." Sam's hands went still on the bridle. "He profits from both sides," Clara continued. "Sells to the raiders, then collects government contracts to build forts and supply armies to protect against them. He has made a fortune off death, Sam, and I have proof." "That is treason," Sam said quietly. "A hanging offense." "Yes, it is. And if I can get that journal to the right people, to a federal judge or the territorial governor, Victor Crane will swing for it. Why did you not do that before? Instead of running?" Clara came to stand in the doorway. The lantern light behind her turned her face to shadow, but Sam could hear the pain in her voice, because of the children. She told him then, about Annie and Thomas and little Pete. 3 orphans, children of women who had worked for Victor and had not survived. Clara had raised them in that cold mansion, had taught them their letters and wiped their tears and tucked them into bed at night. "They called me Mama," she said. "I know I was not their real mother, but they were mine all the same." Sam felt something cold settle in his gut. He was thinking of another child, another death he could not prevent. When Victor found out I was keeping the journal, collecting evidence, he did not confront me. He waited. Let me think I was safe. Let me think I had fooled him. Then one night he called me to the parlor. The children were there. He made me watch while his men. She could not finish, did not need to. Sam stood up slowly. His hands were shaking. The bridle fell to the porch floor. Forgotten. 3 children, Clara said. 7 years old, 5 years old, 3 years old, gone. Because I tried to fight back. Then he beat me until I could not stand, she continued, and had his men dump me in the desert to die slow. He wanted me to suffer, Sam. Wanted me to have plenty of time to think about what I had done before the vultures picked my bones clean. But you did not die. No. Clara lifted her chin. Those children died because I tried to fight back. I will not let their deaths mean nothing. I am going to destroy Victor Crane if it is the last thing I do. before Sam could respond, before he could tell her that he would help, that he would stand with her against all the forces of hell if that was what it took. He heard hoofbeats in the canyon. His hand went to the rifle by the door. First time he had touched it in 5 years. Get inside. Hide. But when the rider came into view, silhouetted against the stars, Sam lowered the weapon slightly. He knew this man. Elijah Crow swung down from his horse, dusty and hard-ridden, his face grim beneath his flat-brimmed hat. He was half Comanche on his mother's side, one of the best trackers in the territory, and the closest thing Sam had to a friend since he had given up his old life. Sam. "We need to talk. Eli. Did not expect to see you out here." Eli's eyes moved to the cabin, to the shadow behind the curtain where Clara was watching. That her. The Crane woman. Sam's blood went cold as river ice in January. "What did you say?" "Victor Crane's wife. Word is she ran off 3 weeks ago with something valuable. Word is he is offering $5,000 for her return." Eli's jaw tightened. "Alive. He wants to kill her himself. How do you know about this?" Eli did not answer right away. When he did, his voice was flat as the desert hardpan. "Because I was hired to find her. 2 weeks ago I picked up her trail in Colorado territory. Been following it ever since." Sam raised the rifle. His hands were steady now, the old instincts coming back like they had never left. "Then we got a problem. We do, but not the one you think." Eli dismounted slowly, hands visible, making no move toward his own weapons. "I am not here to collect her, Sam. I am here to warn you." "Warn me about what?" "Victor Crane did not just send me. He sent Los Diablos. 12 of the meanest killers west of the Mississippi. Men who would slit their own mothers' throats for $1. And they are already in Redstone, Sam, asking questions, showing her picture around. They are coming here. They are coming everywhere." Eli met his eyes. "And when they find her, they will not be as gentle as I would have been." Morning light found the 3 of them on Sam's porch, wary as circling wolves deciding whether to fight or flee. Clara had emerged from the cabin with a kitchen knife hidden in her sleeve. She had heard everything through the thin walls, every word of Eli's warning, and she was not about to trust a man who'd been hunting her just because he claimed to have had a change of heart. "You were hunting me," she said to Eli. "Not a question, a statement of fact, hard and cold as iron. I was, and now—" Eli looked at her for a long moment, at the healing bruises and the haunted eyes and the way she held herself like a cornered animal ready to fight or run. He had tracked dangerous men across half the frontier, but he had never seen anyone who looked quite so much like they had already been to hell and were just waiting to find out if they would be sent back. "Now I am not." He turned to Sam. "I know what Victor Crane is. I know what he does to women who displease him. My mother." He stopped, jaw working like he was chewing on words that tasted bitter. "Let me just say, I got personal reasons to want him dead that have nothing to do with money." "Why should we trust you?" Clara demanded. "You just admitted you were paid to drag me back to the man who left me for dead. You should not trust me. Trust gets people killed, in my experience." Eli sat down heavily on the porch steps, suddenly looking exhausted. "But I got information you need, and you got something I want. What is that? A chance to watch Victor Crane hang for his crimes." They talked until noon, laying out what each of them knew and did not know. Eli had been tracking Clara for 2 weeks, long enough to learn that she was not the only one collecting evidence against Victor Crane. Long enough to learn that the rot in the Crane empire went deeper than even Clara suspected. "Victor is not the real power in that family," Eli said. "His younger brother Marcus, he is the one pulling the strings. Victor is just the public face, the name everyone knows. Marcus operates from the shadows, never shows himself, never leaves evidence, never takes risks." "I have never even met Marcus," Clara said slowly. "Victor mentioned him sometimes, called him the careful one. He is careful." Eli's expression darkened. And patient. He has been building that empire for 20 years, always staying 3 steps ahead of anyone who might threaten it. If something happens to Victor, Marcus will take over. And Marcus does not make mistakes. There was something else, too. Something that made Clara's stomach drop. A federal marshal named Thomas Harding had been traveling with Victor, supposedly as an ally. Word on the street said they were thick as thieves, old friends who went way back. Then we cannot go to the law for help, Clara said bitterly, if the marshal is in Victor's pocket. Maybe, Eli said. Maybe not. I am not sure Harding is what he appears to be, but we will not know for certain until we get to Redstone. Sam had been quiet through most of this, listening and thinking. Now he spoke up. We need to move. Today. If Los Diablos are already searching, it is only a matter of time before they find this canyon. We need to be gone before then. They rode out within the hour. Clara took nothing but the clothes on her back and 3 small braided bracelets that she tucked carefully against her heart, hidden beneath her shirt, where no one could see. The children made them for me, she said when Sam noticed. Annie was learning to braid. She practiced on scraps of leather until her fingers bled. Clara's voice caught. It is all I have left of them. They pushed hard into the Badlands where the terrain would slow pursuit. Narrow canyons and box arroyos, places where horses had to pick their way carefully, and a small group could stay hidden from a larger force. During the day, they hid in caves and shallow overhangs, sleeping in shifts while one person kept watch. At night, they traveled by starlight, following trails that only Sam and Eli knew, staying 1 step ahead of hunters who knew this land almost as well as they did. In the stolen moments of rest, Sam taught Clara to survive. How to read terrain for signs of water. How to identify plants that were safe to eat and those that would make you sick or dead. How to move silently through brush without leaving tracks. How to use a knife when a gun was not an option. I do not want you to kill anyone, Sam said, showing her how to hold the blade so it would not be knocked from her grip. I want you to survive. If someone grabs you, if they get too close, you go for the soft places. Eyes, throat, groin, anywhere that hurts enough to make them let go. 1 chance, Clara. Make it count. She learned fast. Faster than anyone he had ever taught. Like she had been waiting her whole life for someone to show her how to fight back instead of just endure. On the 3rd night, camped in a shallow cave while rain poured down outside, she asked him about his scar. Sam was quiet for a long time. The rain drummed against the rocks and ran in rivulets past the cave mouth, and Clara waited, patient as the stones. You know the name, the Silent Gun, he said finally. Everyone knows that name. Clara's voice was careful. Bounty hunter. 47 kills before he disappeared. They said he never spoke a word before he drew. They said right. Sam touched the raised line on his cheek, tracing it from eye to jaw. I got this from number 47. What happened? I tracked a bank robber to a homestead outside Abilene. He was using a family as human shields. Mother, father, 2 young children. Sam's voice went flat, empty of emotion. I waited for a clean shot. Thought I had one. The robber moved at the last second, and my bullet. He stopped. Could not finish. Clara moved closer, not touching him. She knew better than to touch without warning, but close enough that he could feel her warmth, her presence. The simple fact that he was not alone with this memory. Her name was Emma. She was 6 years old. Sam's hands trembled in the firelight. Blonde hair and blue eyes and a gap-toothed smile. She looked just like my sister did at that age. She died in her mother's arms while I stood there watching. And I could not. I could not. I have not fired a gun since that day, he said after a long moment. Have not been able to. Every time I pick one up, I see her face, hear her mother screaming, feel the world ending all over again. And yet you are here, Clara said quietly, protecting me. I do not know if I can protect you. I do not know if I can pull the trigger when it matters. He finally met her eyes. "You should know that. You might be relying on a broken man." Clara was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that Sam would remember for the rest of his life. "Takes one to know one." Her voice was soft but steady. And broken does not mean useless. It just means we have to be careful with each other. That night she woke screaming from a nightmare. Sam was at her side in seconds, but he did not touch her, did not grab her or shake her or try to hold her down the way some men might. He just sat down across the cave, keeping distance, and started talking. He talked about the stars he could see through the cave mouth, about the Mustang waiting back at the ranch, wild and stubborn and beautiful, about the way the rain smelled on desert sage, clean and sharp and new. His voice anchored her, brought her back from whatever dark place the nightmare had taken her. When the shaking finally stopped, she whispered, "Do not leave." He did not. Sat there all night, keeping watch over her sleep. Just before dawn, half awake and half dreaming, she murmured, "You are the first man who ever made me feel safe, Sam Bridger." Sam did not answer, but something long frozen in his chest began, very slowly, to thaw. They reached the outskirts of Redstone on the fourth day. Eli had ridden ahead to scout the town and came back with grim news. "Los Diablos are regrouping. Victor arrived yesterday with a dozen more men. The town is crawling with guns, Sam. Every street corner, every saloon. They are showing Clara's picture to anyone who will look." And there was something else. Something that changed everything. "I told you I was hired to find Clara," Eli said carefully. "What I did not tell you is who hired me first." "What do you mean?" "It was not Victor." Eli took a deep breath. "It was his brother Marcus, 6 months ago, before Clara even ran." Clara felt the blood drain from her face. "Marcus has known about the journal for months," Eli continued. "He has been watching you, Clara, waiting to see what you would do with it. When you finally ran, Victor sent Los Diablos to hunt you down. But Marcus sent me to watch you, to see where you went, who you trusted, what your plan was. Why? So he could eliminate everyone involved. Quietly, cleanly, without Victor's mess." Sam's rifle came up. "Give me one reason not to shoot you right now, because I am done being Marcus Crane's dog." Eli met his eyes without flinching. "Because my mother was Comanche, and Victor's guns have killed half my family, because I want these bastards dead more than I have ever wanted anything. And because if I wanted to betray you, I would have done it 3 days ago when Los Diablos were less than 2 miles from your position." Long silence. The wind blew dust between them. Then Clara spoke. "If Marcus has been watching me for months, he knows about the journal. He knows what is in it. He knows. Then why did he not just kill me and take it?" Eli's expression turned grim. "Because you are not the only one with evidence against Victor. There is a federal marshal named Thomas Harding who has been building a case for 5 years. He has been traveling with Victor, pretending to be his friend, gathering evidence from the inside." Eli paused. "But Marcus knows about him too. He is planning to kill Harding in Redstone, make it look like bandits, and blame it on you. On me. Think about it, Clara. A woman wanted for murder. Caught conspiring with a known gunfighter to assassinate a federal marshal. That is the story Marcus will tell. Victor hangs for treason, you hang for murder, and Marcus inherits the entire empire with clean hands." Clara sank onto a rock, trying to process what she was hearing. "We are walking into a trap." "Yes." Sam lowered his rifle slowly. "Then we need to spring it before it closes. They split up to enter town. Safer that way. Less likely to be noticed." Clara went to Ruby McAllister's Red Diamond saloon, disguised with her hair pinned up under a hat and a shawl covering half her face. Ruby was a legend in these parts. Former working girl who had clawed her way to power and now ran an underground network helping women escape bad situations. Victor's men had killed 3 of her girls the previous year. She had no love for the Crane family. She took one look at Clara's bruised face and did not ask questions. "Anyone running from that devil is welcome under my roof," she said flatly. "Come. There is a room upstairs where no one will think to look." Meanwhile, Sam found a vantage point overlooking Victor's hotel. He settled in to watch, trying to get a sense of the enemy's movements and numbers. He had been there 2 hours when someone pressed a gun to his back. "Do not move. Do not speak." He was escorted into an alley, rough hands spinning him around to face a weathered man with gray hair and hard eyes. A marshal's star glinted on his chest, half hidden beneath the fold of his coat. Sam Bridger, the silent gun. Marshal Thomas Harding's voice was low and rough. "I have been wanting to meet you for a long time." "That's so. I know you have the woman. I know you have the journal." Harding's eyes were unreadable. "I need both. So you can hand them over to Victor." Something flickered across the marshal's face, pain, anger, something that looked almost like hope. "Victor Crane is going to hang," Harding said quietly, "whether he knows it yet or not. And I am the one who is going to put the rope around his neck." He pulled out a thick envelope and pressed it into Sam's hands. 5 years of evidence. Witness statements, transaction records, coded messages I intercepted from his office, everything I need to bring him down except one thing. Clara's journal, with names and dates that corroborate everything I have gathered. Why should I trust you? You should not. But consider this. If I wanted Clara dead, I could have told Victor where she is hiding an hour ago. Instead, I am here, alone, asking for your help. Sam studied the man's face. There was something familiar about him, though they had never met. Something in the eyes, the shape of the jaw. "Why do you care so much about what happens to her?" Harding was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached into his coat and pulled out an old photograph, faded and worn from being handled too many times. A young woman with gray-green eyes holding an infant in her arms. Her name was Margaret Wells. 28 years ago, I got her pregnant and abandoned her because I was a drunk and a coward who cared more about my career than my family. Harding's voice cracked. Clara is my daughter, and I have spent half my life trying to make up for what I did. Sam felt the ground shift beneath him. Does she know? No, Margaret never told her. Let her believe her father died before she was born. Harding put the photograph away. I am not asking for a relationship. I am not asking for forgiveness. I just want to keep her alive long enough for it to matter that she survived. That night they gathered in Ruby's back room. Sam, Clara, Eli, Ruby, and the federal marshal, all crowded around a scarred wooden table, while a single lantern cast dancing shadows on the walls. Clara looked at Harding with suspicion she did not try to hide. You rode into town with Victor. You have been at his side for weeks. Why should I believe you are not just another one of his dogs, because I have spent 5 years building a case against him? Harding slid his envelope across the table. Risked my life every day to gather evidence while pretending to be his friend. This is everything I have. Combined with your journal, it is enough to hang Victor Crane and bring his whole empire crashing down. What about Marcus? Marcus is careful. He never leaves fingerprints, never puts his name on anything that could connect him to the dirty work. But if we take Victor down publicly enough, loudly enough, Marcus will have to make a choice. Disappear into the shadows forever, or come out to try and save the family business. Either way, he loses. Ruby leaned forward. So, what is the plan, Marshal? You did not risk all our necks just to chat. They laid it out piece by piece. First, Clara's journal and Harding's evidence would be sent to the territorial governor in Santa Fe via Ruby's underground network. Multiple copies, multiple routes, so that even if some were intercepted, others would get through. Second, they would leak false information to Los Diablos about a rival buyer for Victor's guns, create chaos and suspicion within his own ranks, make him paranoid enough to make mistakes. Third, and most dangerous, Clara would confront Victor publicly, in front of witnesses, accuse him of his crimes where everyone could hear. If Victor reacts with violence, Harding said, and he will, I arrest him on the spot with full legal authority. The charges will stick because we have the evidence to back them up. It is risky, Eli said. Too many things can go wrong. Everything can go wrong, Clara agreed. But I am done hiding. I am done being afraid. Victor took everything from me. My freedom, my children, my dignity, my ability to trust. She straightened her shoulders. I want him to see my face when it all falls apart. I want him to know that the woman he threw away like garbage is the one who destroyed him. As the meeting broke up, Harding caught Clara by the door. There is something I need to tell you, he said quietly, about your mother. But before he could finish, gunfire erupted outside. The Red Diamond's windows exploded inward, glass flying like deadly rain. Screams and shouts filled the night. The unmistakable sound of men kicking in doors, of boots thundering on wooden floors. Victor's men had found them. The next minutes were chaos, smoke and blood and running. Clara fought her way through the kitchen, grabbed a knife from the block on the counter. One of Victor's men came at her, and she remembered everything Sam had taught her. Eyes, throat, soft places. One chance, make it count. The man went down screaming, clutching his face. Clara did not stop to see how badly she had hurt him, just kept moving toward the back door. She almost made it. Hello, my dear wife. Victor's voice was warm, almost gentle, like a father greeting a wayward child. Did you really think I would not find you? He stood in the doorway, blocking her escape. Behind him, his men were already dragging Ruby away, bleeding from a wound in her shoulder. Eli was nowhere to be seen. Sam was still upstairs, the sound of gunfire echoing from above. Victor crossed the distance between them in 3 quick strides, grabbed her by the hair, pulled her close enough that she could smell his cologne, that expensive French scent he always wore that had become the smell of her nightmares. I have missed you, Clara. He smiled. I really have. He hit her then, hard enough to blur her vision, hard enough to remind her of all the times he had hit her before, all the nights she had spent curled on the floor, wondering if this would be the time he finally killed her. When her vision cleared, she was being thrown over a horse. Victor's men were already mounting up, torches flickering in the darkness as they rode away from the burning saloon. The last thing she saw before they disappeared into the night was Sam, standing in an upper window, firing down at the retreating riders. He was too far away to save her. But the look on his face said he would die trying. Victor's mansion rose from the desert like a monument to power and cruelty. It was beautiful in its way, tall white columns and wide verandas, expensive furniture imported from the east, crystal chandeliers that caught the light and scattered it like diamonds. A house that spoke of wealth and taste and civilized living. Clara knew better. She knew the rooms where the screaming happened, the cellars where people disappeared, the cold, empty spaces where love and warmth and human kindness had been replaced by fear and pain and control. Victor took her to her old room, the one she had been locked in for 4 years, the one where she had learned to count the cracks in the ceiling, to measure time by the shadows moving across the floor, to disappear so far inside herself that sometimes she forgot she existed at all. Welcome home, Victor said, closing the door behind them. We have so much to catch up on. Go to hell. Such language. He circled her slowly the way a cat circles a wounded mouse. I see your cowboy has not taught you proper manners. Sam Bridger, is it not? The famous silent gun. Quite a protector you found for yourself. He will come for me. I certainly hope so. Victor smiled. I have a dozen of my best men waiting for him. He will not get within a mile of this house before they cut him down. And you, my darling wife, are going to watch it happen. Over the next 2 days, Victor did not use physical violence. He used something worse. Hope. He showed her sketches of Sam, done by men who had been watching the outskirts of his property. My trackers have found his trail. It is only a matter of time now. He described in detail what would happen when Sam was caught, what his men would do to Marshall Harding, to Ruby, to Eli, to anyone who had ever helped Clara escape. You can stop it, Victor said softly. Tell me where you sent the journal. Tell me who else knows. Tell me everything, and I will make their deaths quick and painless. A mercy, really, considering what they have done. Go to hell. Victor sighed. I was hoping you would be reasonable. He opened the door. Two of his men dragged in a young woman, one of Ruby's girls, barely more than a child, who had not been quick enough to escape when the saloon burned. This is your fault, Clara. Victor's voice was soft, almost tender. Remember that. What happened next, Clara could not stop, could only watch, could only scream herself hoarse, could only add another face to the nightmares she would carry for the rest of her life. Meanwhile, Sam was rallying what forces he could. Eli had survived the attack on the saloon. So had three of his Comanche contacts, men who had their own reasons to want Victor Crane dead. Marshall Harding was wounded but determined, his arm in a sling but his gun hand steady. Ruby, her shoulder bandaged, was coordinating from a safe house on the edge of town. 5 of them against an army. The plan was desperate. Hit the estate at night during the shift change, when security was at its thinnest, an old mine shaft connected to the cellars beneath the mansion. They would go in quiet and come out loud. Sam. Eli caught his arm as they prepared to move. You know what this means. If we get in there, if we find her, you will have to use your gun. I know. Can you do it? After 5 years, can you pull the trigger when it counts? Sam looked down at his hands. The same hands that had killed a little girl. The same hands that had been shaking for 5 years, every time he even thought about picking up a weapon. For Clara, he said quietly, dead. I can do anything. They went in under cover of darkness. The mine shaft was narrow and cramped, old timbers creaking overhead. Sam led the way, a lantern in one hand and his pistol in the other. Behind him, Eli moved like a ghost, making no sound at all. They emerged in the wine cellar beneath the mansion. 2 guards at the door. Eli took them both before they could make a sound, his knife flashing silver in the dim light. Sam picked up his gun. His hands shook. He saw Emma's face, the little girl he had killed, saw her eyes going wide with shock, heard her mother's scream, felt the world cracking open beneath his feet. Sam! Eli's voice was urgent. We do not have time for this. I know. Sam forced himself to breathe, forced himself to focus on Clara, on the woman who needed him, on the promise he had made to never leave her. I know. He raised the weapon, and for the first time in 5 years, he fired. The guard dropped without a sound. Sam's hands were still shaking, but the shot was clean, professional, like the muscle memory had never left, just been buried under 5 years of guilt and grief. The silent gun had returned. They fought their way to the cellar where Clara was being held. Sam killed 3 men in rapid succession. Quick, efficient, emotionless. Each shot placed with the deadly precision that had made him famous, and the cold detachment that had made him feared. The cell door was locked. Sam shot it open. Clara was huddled in the corner, blood on her clothes that was not her own. Her eyes were vacant, seeing horrors that were no longer there. Clara. Sam knelt in front of her, careful not to touch her without permission. It is me. It is Sam. I came for you, just like I promised. Slowly her eyes focused. Sam, I am here. Can you walk? She nodded, took his hand. Let him pull her to her feet. They were halfway to the exit when the lights came on. Victor Crane stood at the end of the corridor, flanked by 10 armed men. Mr. Bridger. His smile was cold and cruel. I was wondering when you would arrive. Victor's eyes moved from Sam to Clara, to their joined hands, and something ugly flickered across his face. How touching. The broken gunfighter and the broken wife. You truly deserve each other. Let us walk out of here, Sam said quietly. And nobody else has to die. Oh, I think quite a few more people have to die. Victor gestured, and his men parted to reveal Marshall Harding, beaten and bleeding, hands bound behind his back. Starting with the traitor who helped you get inside. Marshal Thomas Harding, Victor continued, Federal lawman, secret investigator. His smile turned cruel. And Clara's long-lost daddy. Did she tell you about that, Sam? Did she even know? Sam felt Clara stiffen beside him. What is he talking about? Your mother was Margaret Wells, pretty little thing. She got pregnant at 17 by a worthless drunk of a deputy who ran off, rather than do the right thing and marry her. Victor laughed. That deputy is now a federal marshal who has spent the last 5 years trying to save the daughter he abandoned. Family reunions are so heartwarming, do you not think? Clara's face went blank with shock. In the chaos of that moment, Eli made his move. He killed the lights with a well-placed shot at the oil lamp, then threw smoke bombs that filled the corridor with choking gray clouds. Gunfire erupted from every direction, muzzle flashes lighting up the darkness like lightning. Sam grabbed Clara and ran. They made it through the chaos somehow, stumbling upstairs and through rooms and finally out into the cool night air. Eli was right behind them, half carrying the wounded Harding. But when they reached the horses, when they turned to make sure everyone was accounted for, Clara was gone. Sam spun around, saw her being thrown over a horse by one of Victor's men, saw Victor himself swinging into the saddle, spurring his mount toward the Mexican border. He did not hesitate. Sam vaulted onto the black Mustang, the wild stallion that had never fully accepted a saddle, and rode after them like the devil himself was on his heels. Victor had a head start. Fresh horses, men to clear the way. But Sam knew this land better than anyone alive. Every shortcut, every hidden trail, every place where a determined man on a fast horse could make up ground. He pushed the Mustang to its limits, and the horse responded like it understood, like it had been waiting its whole life for a ride that truly mattered. He caught up with them at Diablo Canyon, a narrow bridge over a dried riverbed, the only crossing to Mexico for 50 miles. Victor was almost there when Sam appeared on the far side, blocking his escape. Alone, wearing his gun belt, hand resting easy on the grip of his Colt. "Let her go, Crane," Victor laughed. "Or what? You will shoot me, with your famous shaking hands." He dragged Clara in front of him like a shield, pressing his pistol to her temple. "I know all about you, Bridger. The mighty silent gun, undone by a dead little girl. Do you still see her face when you close your eyes? Every day. Then you know you cannot take this shot. Not with Clara so close." Victor's smile widened. "Ride away. And maybe I will let you live. I am not here to shoot you. Number 1, I am here to give you a choice." Sam dismounted slowly, hands visible, no threat in his posture. "Let Clara go, and you can ride to Mexico. Start over. Disappear. The evidence is already on its way to the governor. Your empire is finished. The only question is whether you spend the rest of your life free in Mexico or swing from a rope in Texas." For just a moment, Victor seemed to consider it. Then his face twisted with rage. "I think I would rather kill you both." He raised his gun. Clara moved first. The knife Sam had taught her to use, the one she had kept hidden in her sleeve through everything, plunged into Victor's gun hand. He screamed and dropped the weapon. And in that instant of distraction, Sam drew, fired. One shot. Victor Crane fell from his horse with a hole in his chest where his black heart used to be. He was dead before he hit the ground. Clara stumbled away from the body and collapsed at the edge of the bridge, shaking so hard she could barely breathe. Sam holstered his gun and went to her, kneeling in the dust beside her. "Is it over?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Is it really over? Victor is over." Sam touched her face, gentle as a prayer. "But Marcus is still out there." "I know." Clara met his eyes. "I cannot keep running. I cannot keep hiding. If Marcus wants me dead, let him come. I am done being afraid. Then we will face him together." 3 days later, back in Redstone, Clara finally confronted the man who claimed to be her father. Marshal Thomas Harding was sitting up in bed at Ruby's place, pale from blood loss but alive. When Clara walked through the door, his eyes lit up with hope, then dimmed when he saw her expression. "You are angry," he said quietly. I am a lot of things. Clara stayed by the door, keeping distance between them. Mostly I am confused. My mother told me my father died before I was born. A hero, she said. A good man, who would have loved me if he had lived. She was protecting you from the truth, which is. Harding was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough with old shame. I was 23, deputy marshal in a nothing town, dreaming of bigger things. Your mother was 17, beautiful. Too good for the likes of me. When she told me she was pregnant, I panicked. Told myself I would come back for her once I had made something of myself. Got promoted, transferred, kept telling myself next year, next promotion, next chance. He laughed bitterly. 30 years later, here I am. You had 30 years to find us. I did find you. 15 years ago, I came to your mother's door ready to beg her forgiveness. His voice caught. But she had married another man, a good man who loved her, who provided for you, and you were happy. I watched you through the window, laughing in the yard with your friends. You looked so much like her. Why did you not say anything? What right did I have? I had abandoned her, abandoned you. Your stepfather loved you. What could I offer except pain and confusion and questions you did not need? Clara was quiet, processing. I kept tabs on you after that, Harding continued. Watched you become a nurse, serve in the war. And when you married Victor, his jaw tightened. I investigated him. That is how this whole case started. Not duty. Guilt. I was trying to save you from a monster because I had failed to be your father. You could have told me any time in the last 5 years. I could have. I was a coward then, and I am a coward now. He met her eyes. I do not expect forgiveness, Clara. I do not deserve it. I just want you to know that everything I have done was about trying, just once, to be the father I should have been. Clara stared at him for a long moment. This stranger with her mother's photograph in his coat. 30 years of regret in his eyes. I cannot call you father, she said finally. That word belongs to the man who raised me, I understand. But I can call you Thomas. And I can accept that you are trying to make things right. She paused. Marcus is coming. I need you with us. Can you fight? Harding struggled to sit up straighter. I can shoot. Then you are with us. Marcus Crane arrived in Redstone at dawn the next day. He was nothing like his brother. Where Victor had been loud and cruel, Marcus was quiet and controlled. A slim man in an expensive suit with pale eyes that revealed nothing at all. He rode into town alone and unarmed. Walked into Ruby's saloon like he was arriving for a business meeting. Mrs. Crane, or should I say Miss Wells. His voice was soft, cultured, almost pleasant. My condolences on your widowhood. Clara faced him across the table. Sam flanked her on one side, Eli on the other. Harding watched from the doorway. You came alone, did I? Marcus smiled faintly. Look outside. Through the window, Clara could see a dozen riders at the edge of town. Los Diablos, what was left of them after the chaos of the past weeks. They will not interfere unless I signal. I truly am here to negotiate. Negotiate what? An ending that benefits us both. Marcus steepled his fingers. You have evidence that could destroy what remains of my family's enterprise. I have resources that could make your life very difficult for a very long time. Neither of us benefits from continued conflict. Clara leaned forward. You are assuming I have something left to lose. Do you not? Victor took my children. He took my dignity, my freedom, my ability to trust. He left me to die in a desert. Clara's voice was steel. What else do you think you can threaten me with? For the first time, something flickered in Marcus's expression. Besides, Clara continued, you are too late. The journal is already on its way to Santa Fe. I kept nothing. There is nothing left to negotiate. You are bluffing. Am I? Clara smiled. I knew you would come. I knew you would try to make a deal, so I made sure there was nothing to deal for. On cue, the saloon's back door opened. A United States Army captain entered with 6 soldiers at his back. Marcus Crane. I am Captain William Ross, 5th Cavalry. I have a warrant for your arrest on charges of treason and conspiracy to commit murder." Marcus did not move. Through the window he could see his men being surrounded by soldiers, Los Diablos disarmed one by one. Then his hand moved toward his pocket. Sam saw the derringer an instant before Marcus aimed it at Clara. But Harding was faster. The marshal threw himself in front of Clara just as Marcus fired. The bullet took him in the chest. Sam's gun cleared leather a heartbeat later, and Marcus dropped with a hole between his eyes. "Thomas." Clara caught Harding as he fell. Blood spread across his shirt. Too fast, too much. "No, no, 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 Clara." Harding's voice was barely a whisper. "I am sorry. For everything. Do not talk. Save your strength. Listen to me." He grabbed her hand. "I was never the father you deserved, but maybe this makes up for something." "I forgive you," Clara whispered. "Do you hear me? I forgive you." Harding smiled, just barely. "Thank you, daughter." His hand went limp. 1 month later, the trials were over. The newspapers had printed their stories. The territorial governor had made his speeches. What remained of the Crane Empire had been seized by the government. The blood money distributed to the families of those who had died. Clara had testified for 3 days. May told her story to a packed courtroom, every detail, every horror. Every night she had spent curled on the floor wondering if she would survive until morning. When she was finished, there was not a dry eye in the gallery. "What happens now?" people asked her. "Now," she said, "I learn how to live." On a hillside outside Redstone, overlooking the valley where she had almost died, 4 new headstones stood in a row. Annie Wells, age 7, beloved daughter. Thomas Wells, age 5, beloved son. Peter Wells, age 3, beloved son. Marshal Thomas Harding. He gave his life that others might live. Clara knelt before the 3 small graves. She had recovered the children's remains from Victor's estate and given them a proper burial with new names. Her name. They were hers now, in death as they had been in life. "I am sorry I could not save you," she whispered. "But I made sure the man who hurt you can never hurt anyone again. That has to count for something." Sam stood behind her, hat in hand. He did not speak. Some grief needs silence more than words. When Clara finally rose, she looked at the 4th grave. The father she had never known. "I did not get enough time with him. Barely knew him before he was gone." "He knew you," Sam said quietly. "That is what mattered to him. I keep thinking about what he said at the end, that he was never the father I deserved." Clara wiped her eyes. "But he was the father I needed, right when I needed him most." 6 months later, Sam's Canyon Ranch had been transformed. The cabin had been expanded into a proper house. A second building stood nearby, a small clinic where Clara used the nursing skills she thought she had lost forever. Ruby McAllister's network sent women who needed help, who needed healing, who needed a safe place to start over. Some stayed for weeks, others just passed through. All of them left stronger than when they came. And the children. Not just the 3 she had lost, but others. Orphans of violence and neglect in the harsh frontier. They found their way to the canyon somehow, and Clara took them all in. "You are building something here," Sam said one evening, watching Clara tend to a young boy who had arrived that morning with bruises on his face and fear in his eyes. "We are building something," she corrected him. "You and me. Together." Winter settled over the canyon. The first snow dusted the high peaks, and the nights grew long and cold. Sam found Clara in the clinic one afternoon, bandaging a young mother's sprained wrist. He waited until they were alone. "Clara." I have been thinking. That is dangerous." She smiled up at him. "I have been thinking about that day in the desert, when I found you crawling through the dirt with nothing but stubborn will keeping you alive. I remember. I made you a promise that day, said I would not leave you." He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small. I want to make that promise official. Clara looked at the ring in his hand. Simple. Silver. A band made by a local craftsman, nothing fancy or expensive. It was perfect. Sam, I know you have been hurt. I know trust does not come easy for you, and it may never come easy. I am not asking you to forget any of that. He took her hand gently. I am just asking you to let me spend the rest of my life proving that not all men break their promises. She was quiet for a long time. Long enough that Sam started to worry he had made a mistake. Then she spoke. Do you remember what I said when you found me in that desert? You told me to kill you or leave you alone. And do you remember what you said back? I said I was not going to kill you. And I was not going to leave you. Clara slipped the ring onto her finger. Then I guess this is me saying yes. Spring came to the canyon in a riot of color. Wildflowers bloomed across the valley floor, red and yellow and purple against the green of new grass. The creek ran high with snowmelt, singing over the rocks on its way to somewhere far away. Clara stood on the clinic porch, watching Sam teach a group of children how to gentle a young horse. He was patient with them, kind, showing them the same care he had shown her when she was wild and wounded and afraid of everything. Her hand rested on her stomach. Just barely rounded now. A secret she had not told him yet. The black Mustang grazed in the corral nearby. It had never fully accepted a saddle, never become truly tame. But it stayed, like it knew this was where it was supposed to be. Sam looked up from his work and caught her eye. Smiled. That rare, genuine smile she had thought she would never see when she first met him. She smiled back. People ask me how I survived, Clara would tell the women who came to her clinic in the years that followed. What kept me fighting when everything was lost? The truth is, I did not survive. The woman I was before, Victor's wife, Victor's victim, she died in that desert. She had to die so that someone new could be born. Sam Bridger did not save my life. He gave me a chance to build a new one. The rest I did myself. That is what I tell the broken ones, the beaten ones, the ones who think they are beyond saving. You are not beyond saving. You just need someone to believe in you until you can believe in yourself. And then you need to fight like hell for the future you deserve. I did, and I'm still fighting. Every single day. The canyon at sunset. Golden light spilling over red rock walls, painting everything in shades of amber and rose. Sam and Clara on the porch of the home they had built together. His arm around her shoulders, her head resting against his chest, watching their children, some born to them and some chosen, play in the yard while the light faded and the stars came out one by one. The black Mustang reared on the ridge above, silhouetted against the dying sun, and let out a cry that echoed off the canyon walls. A cry of freedom, a cry of hope, a cry that said against all odds, love had won. This content was carefully researched, developed, and manually edited by our team to deliver meaningful stories with valuable life lessons. Every narrative is crafted to entertain, inspire, and empower our audience. We believe that great stories can change lives, and we are committed to bringing you content that matters. Thank you for being part of our community.